welcome to a special Coachella edition of BV Weekly. I'm Dave. I'm here with Amanda and Andrew. What? Andrew is back. Andrew heard we wanted to talk about Coachella, do a special episode, which makes multiple special episodes in the past 7 days. But since Coachella just happened on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday in Indio and on your computer screen or TVs, we figured, let's just get on here, talk about it. And Andrew could not resist. He's back. Welcome back, Andrew.
I'm happy to be back, however brief, but I'm stoked to be here. I watched it on my computer all weekend, and I recreated the feeling of watching these bands on 3 hours of sleep because I have a 1-month-old.
Amazing. And was it all on computer for you?
No, we casted it on the TV, YouTube on Google TV or whatever.
Yeah, for me, it was a mix of TV, laptop, and phone at times.
I get. Okay, it was a mix. Yeah, I watched like Joyce Manor on my phone while cooking breakfast, and my wife Jamie watched some of it on her tablet, like while feeding our baby, and I would walk in there and peek in that too. And then I think this morning, actually, just before hopping on this, I watched Drain's whole set on my laptop while making breakfast. So it was a mix, but it was primarily on our living room TV.
I got to learn how to watch and make breakfast at the first time. That's a major lost time for me.
Definitely. Well, you could also get like one of those little TVs on your kitchen counter.
Yeah, I was like recreating that concept with my phone propped up against a water bottle.
There you go. Now, Andrew, are you the only one of us who has actually been to Coachella?
Dave, you answer that question.
I have not been to Coachella. I
haven't either.
Yeah, So
yes, I went last year, and I will say watching the live stream, having gone, is a different experience because I think we've talked about this on past episodes of BV Weekly, but Coachella is like that one festival where even if you haven't gone, you have all the opinions in the world about it, and you talk about it like it's something that you participate in, because it is. I mean, they air it live and they film it like impeccably, and you get the experience. But it's different when you go, and then it's also different when you have gone and you're watching it at home, and you're like, oh, like I can picture like what that stage looks like, and all these things. And you also just have a feel for the overall experience in a way that the people arguing with you on the internet don't always have. Foreshadowing. But yeah.
No, that makes perfect sense. Yeah, you're like, oh, I know that room, and I can tell that stage is kind of empty right now, or whoa, look at the people going out the door of that one.
At the same time, though, in our very fragmented culture currently, Coachella is one of the events that really can bring masses of people together, get the interest of masses of people, even if we aren't necessarily all having the same experience with it. So I think that's really interesting that it has, as a festival, it has emerged as like the one kind of.
Yeah. I mean, again, I feel like it's basically an international event. Like it is. Yeah. It is like, in ways, the Super Bowl, the Grammys, all these things that we like, to the extent that we can in the 2020s, gather around our TVs and watch as a community, which, doesn't happen the way it happened when like the Beatles played the Ed Sullivan Show or something.
Yeah, vanishingly few opportunities to do that. So really, there's something to be said for how we all come together for Coachella.
Yeah, and I don't watch a lot of video. I go to a lot of shows, but I don't watch a lot of shows on video. But I find myself wanting to watch so much Coachella. I don't watch a lot of TV even, but I watch. So I think people who do watch a lot of TV, but also wanted to watch as much Coachella, probably, it's serious competition to actual TV shows on the weekend it's happening.
I mean, I think Euphoria debuted last night, right? And
it did.
I didn't watch it because I was watching Iggy Pop.
Well, I didn't watch it because I read some reviews.
Yeah, well, I mean that's also fair. Sure. But I mean, I have to know. I have to know for myself. I'm gonna watch at least the pilot. The first episode.
I'm sure I'll watch the pilot. I do feel pretty committed to Euphoria, but having read a review, I was like, oh, I don't know if this is actually how I want to spend time tonight.
Yeah. No, I mean, I'm in no rush, but I may have put it on had it not been. Also, I mean, like, I don't care about this, but for what it's worth, like the Golf Masters tournament was all weekend. So like my brother is a golf person. And so I that was like what he was all invested in. And the last Knick game of the regular season was yesterday too. So there was a lot of competition with Coachella.
Sorry, I gotta give my obligatory eye roll at sports. Sorry. It's just that's what I'm.
Hey,
that's
we're gonna be
do.
getting into sports on this episode, though, because of
our friend Joey, who I spend a lot of time on text message with, and was texting about Coachella sets all weekend. He actually did take a break from the streams to go to that Knicks game in person, and by the way, noticed some passed out Haley Williams fans near the Garden as well. She was playing her. Was it the third of 3 shows at Hammerstein Ballroom last night?
Yes, that was a third of 3 shows.
Yeah, and also with special guests, just like Coachella.
Yeah.
But
Jason Isbell doing Cover Me Up with her.
I know,
very,
I'm
very
so
cool.
sad I missed that.
Same.
Yeah,
but
cool Nashville connection.
Straight after the Knicks game, he was home watching more Coachella sets till bed.
There you go.
All right, I respect the hustle.
So I watched a lot of sets, but of course not all of them. And I thought in a minute we should go through. Andrew, you also watched a lot.
Mm-hmm.
We should list our favorites. But before we do, I feel like one big thing we finally learned thanks to the Coachella stream was exactly what 9 Inch Noize was.
Yeah.
So could one of you explain it better than me?
Well, it is my number 1 set, so 2 birds.
Okay.
I could take it because I think it was the best thing I saw all weekend. Except I should have learned how to pronounce Trent Reznor's wife's name. Amanda, can you help out? Do you know?
I believe it's Mary Queen, but I'm not positive about that. So sorry if I'm butchering that.
So as we have talked about on this show before, we all went to the 9 Inch Nails tour, all 4 of us, the whole BV team, and we saw with a portion of the set where Boys Noize comes out and they would do these like ravey remixes of 9 Inch Nails songs. And then this whole set was billed as 9 Inch Noize. So we all kind of figured it was probably going to be a full set of that. And it was, but it also had Mary Queen, Trent Reznor's wife, who was also in How to Destroy Angels with Trent. So that was a surprise because we didn't know that she was going to be there. And her and Trent were sharing lead vocals. And they played an hour-long set of basically ravey remixes of songs by 9 Inch Nails and other Trent Reznor projects.
Including How to Destroy Angels.
Right, including How to Destroy Angels. And I mean, yeah, I just thought it was the perfect thing for Coachella. It was in the Sahara tent, if I remember correctly, which, again, like the context of going there, like they usually put dance music there. So in a way, this was like almost a callback to when Madonna played the dance tent, because 9 Inch Nails have headlined Coachella. They headlined Coachella 20 years ago exactly. And I would imagine that it was possibly a collaborative idea between Trent and Golden Voice, or maybe even Trent's idea himself, to not play the main stage. Because again, I mean, you're a returning headliner. You don't want to be pushed off to the side, I'm sure, but this was a different version of 9 Inch Nails. It was this dance-driven version, and they put it in the tent where you're normally going to see EDM and stuff. And I think that was really special and really cool of them to do. And it just was a really great stage for what they had on stage too. They had these dancers that were very, I feel, artistically worked into the just dark, moody, brooding kind of like aura of the show. And it just like reinvented these classic songs, made it all sound fresh and modern. And it just felt like the perfect thing for Coachella, because you got this mix of Coachella history. You got this legendary rock band who's headlined the festival back when Coachella was a different thing than it is now, with this embracing the sort of rave culture that Coachella has kind of gone in that direction more recently. And it just felt like a perfect combo of the then and the now. I think really great for longtime 9 Inch Nails fans, and also probably really great for like younger people who maybe don't know these songs but just want to dance to something cool. And I would imagine that happened a lot, because a lot of, at any music festival, you just sometimes stumble into a stage and say, I'll check this out. There's nobody on right now that I know I need to see. So it just felt like a really great mix of like the old and the new. And I know they have an album coming out this week. I can't wait to hear it. I don't know if it's going to be just these remixes or if they also have new material together. Who knows? But it was such a cool concept. And as I said on Twitter, I hope we get more things like this. The first one that came to mind for me was like a Cure and Fortet set, because that Fortet remix of the Cure song that came out last year, incredible. Or like a Daniel Avery Cure set too.
Or
anyway,
King Gizzard rave.
Yeah, or a King Gizzard rave.
That's why
I was thinking past Coachella headliners though. That's where my like the Cure have headlined like.
Well,
but yeah,
on last
Gizzard
week's
rave.
episode of BV Weekly, Amanda and I were joking that we're talking about how much rock is at Coachella and what a big moment it seems to be having, but also how Nine Inch Nails is a dance thing, which was like a few minutes after we pointed out that King Gizzard are having a rave night at Forest Hills. So it was like this kind of raucous techno thing going on.
I see. News to me.
Yeah,
Glad to learn it in real time.
So it's interesting because veteran rock bands haven't tended to fare so well at Coachella in recent years. You even will get like a very exciting like reunion booking, and then you hear it's like underattended, or maybe somebody makes a comment that the crowd sucks, and it gets spread around the internet a lot. But having Nine Inch Nails do the Boys Noize collaboration as a full set was really just like a master stroke in making, because like Andrew said, Coachella has become so much about EDM, and that's like such a major part of it now. So that really was such an effective way of making it, kind of bringing Nine Inch Nails to the people who, if they had been, one of the kind of veteran rock sets, may have been not as well attended. So I really love that. Yeah, I'm all in.
Yeah, I was also getting some reports from on the ground because my friends Nikki and Andrew, who live in LA, were at Coachella. They go every year, and we went with them last year. And Andrew said the Strokes was embarrassingly underattended. So that's like a perfect example,
sadly,
I feel, of
that's just Coachella in 2026.
Right. But if Julian Casablancas was doing EDM remixes of Someday, then maybe it would be, I don't know.
Well, that's even more painful to hear because they were playing to people camped out to watch Justin Bieber later. So
that probably, yeah.
I mean, that
also added to.
And didn't the Strokes conflict with Pink Panthers? I think so.
Yes. And Julian talked about that on stage, right?
And I definitely, like, personally, that I felt very conflicted over that, where I was like, if I had gone, I probably would have gone to see Pink Panthers. Like, it definitely would have been a tough choice.
Well, I feel like skipping ahead, I am going to start talking about my list of top sets then, because the Strokes and Pink Panthers are both on my list of top sets from the weekend.
Nice.
And neither of them were things I saw coming, I gotta say. So I feel like that's kind of the theme of my list in general. Amanda and I were talking about who we would go see. And one of the things, just to give another example, one of the sets I said I would definitely go see was David Byrne. David Byrne on the stream was reliably great, but it was kind of felt like this thing, a show I had seen before. And I don't even mean, I'm more making an analogy. Like, I don't need to see this movie again. I've seen it. Even though I haven't seen David Byrne live in a while, but it was just kind of like, yeah, that's nice. He's reliably good. But then it was things that I wasn't really expecting that really sucked me in on the stream. And one of them was Pink Panthers, which I wasn't expecting it because I feel I'm not sure if she's lip syncing. I know she's lip synced in the past. But when I watched Pink Panthers, it was just like every song was a banger. And it made me realize that I personally am sleeping a little bit on the Pink Panthers albums, which other people love.
She's so good.
Good.
I've been kind of a long time fan, maybe not a long time fan in general, but certainly a long time fan among the three of us. I think I can say that. And I think she's just gotten like better and better.
Yeah.
And it's all bangers.
Fun. And she brought out, a little biased against the Dare as well, but I'm not going to lie. Seeing the Dare out on stage and then the party, I had two thoughts. One, this is super fun. Two, did she just steal this whole shtick from Charlie XCX? Haven't I seen this before? But no comment there.
I think you already made a comment.
No, I just thought I don't know. Was it? I didn't search Twitter.
I didn't watch her set, so I can't answer.
But do you guys remember when Charlie XCX had the Dare on stage and all like people came out and started partying? Was it like at the Grammys? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well,
I don't think Charlie owns that concept, though. I don't think
so either.
I'm not claiming Charlie owns specifically having the artist, the Dare, DJing on your stage on a highly televised event to create a party atmosphere where other party people all run out on stage, including other celebrities like Horse Girl in the case of Pink Panthers.
Yeah,
but it definitely reminded me of that. But yeah, that's anyway, it was still fun. I liked it.
And by Horse Girl, we should clarify that, like the last time we discussed her, we mean horse-headed DJ and producer Horse Girl, not Chicago indie rock band Horse Girl.
Very true. And it was one of two Horse Girl surprise appearances that not only happened at Coachella, but I watched like 10 minutes apart on the stream. Horse Girl also came out with Wet Leg, which was another fun appearance and another fun set. So yeah, the Strokes also on my list of top sets. I went into the Strokes expecting to hate it, honestly. And I immediately got sucked in and was loving every minute of it. A lot of people have commented on their stage banter. They got a little political. He was wearing an anti-Amazon shirt. They aren't the same band they were 20 years ago, both appearance-wise and just in general. And some might say we're making a lot of Justin Bieber dad jokes. I just thought it all worked. I liked the Strokes set a lot. Did you watch Strokes, Andrew? Sorry, I don't remember.
Yeah, I watched them.
Not on your list.
I didn't have as much of a reaction to it as you did, I guess. I love the Strokes. First two records are 10 out of 10s, but honestly, like, what wouldn't be one of my favorites, I guess.
Yeah, that was a theme for me of the sets that I loved, was things I wasn't expecting, and things that I was expecting. That's why I used David Byrne as an example. Were just kind of there. Like, I've seen this before.
I thought the better Justin Bieber joke was from the new Julian Casablancas when Geese covered Baby during their set.
It was definitely a striking thing to compare there, how Geese covered Justin Bieber much to the delight of their crowd, and the original Geese, the Strokes, were busting on Justin Bieber.
Well, the original Geese goes back further than the Strokes.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah. Good point. Thank you. That's why you're here. That's
to be the music snob.
Yes.
Hey, speaking of music snobbery, are we going to talk about my tweet?
Yeah,
Let's
go for it. All right, we're in the middle. We're going all over the place, but yeah, let's get to your tweet.
I was on Pop Stan Twitter this weekend. This is huge for me. So I tweeted, I feel like pop stars are training their audiences to think a Coachella headlining set should look like a Super Bowl halftime show. And I guess it took off on Pop Stan Twitter and it went kind of viral, and all these haters replied to it and quote tweeted it. And it's super funny because, I feel like it doesn't even need to be said on a podcast like this, but basically it reached the audience it was talking about. So like, of course they were going to get upset. Like, it was really for like our people, and I just feel like every hater both missed and proved the point of the tweet. And I also feel like no further context is really needed. I think my point stands. I think those who get it, and those who don't made it very clear that they don't. But yeah, I mean, that was funny to see, because all the people were like, yeah, well, Coachella costs $3,000. A headlining set should look like a Super Bowl halftime show. This is where I think also being there adds a little more context too, where like, yeah, Coachella is this live streamed event. It's this international event. But when you have been spending all day in the desert on 3 hours of sleep in 100-degree sun and like non-nutritious diets. And also, like, let's be realistic, most people are on drugs. I was fully sober for my Coachella experience, but most people are on drugs. And that's part of it. I don't think we should pretend it's not. You know, these festivals are supposed to be for freaks in the desert with drug-conducive music. And as listeners of this podcast, I would imagine, I all know Coachella's existed since 1999, and it was a festival for the freaks in the desert, the weirdos, the alternative music fans for so long. And I think if you're coming to Coachella, if Coachella was only of interest to you in the past since Beyonce, and you just think like this is a destination for pop stars to have a big spectacle, that's fine. I don't think you need to care about the history, but I also think, I don't know, I don't think it hurts to have a little respect for the history. And to me, like, when you're going to come to Coachella as a pop star, I think it would be cool to be like, I'm going to craft my set to be a Coachella set versus I'm going to steal Coachella and turn it into my thing and like morph, like make it so that everything else that happened today didn't matter. Well, all that mattered is the pop headliner. Like that's definitely a prevailing, Amanda, I'm sure you agree that that's kind of there are people who treat Coachella like, you know, Sabrina Day, Bieber Day, Karol G Day. Like that's
absolutely.
Yeah,
but
right.
I would argue that they kind of have a point in doing that almost. Like, not that I necessarily agree with that, but I do kind of see the point. And like I was saying, Coachella has become this like one of the few pop cultural events that brings us all together in this way. And and you mentioned Beyonce, and I do think kind of starting with her, she was one of the first artists that I can think of who really kind of crafted her set, which was an enormous spectacle to the kind of the people watching at home versus the ones there in person. Like the set was very choreographed to video. It was stunning. It was incredible. I still remember, I watched it multiple times all the way through. I absolutely loved it. But I think that while I haven't been to Coachella, I can't really speak to that whole experience. But I do think kind of starting with that, there has been like a little element of like, let's try to one up the last, pop star who played and do like more of a spectacle. And then, you have someone like Frank Ocean who has this set that, is extremely controversial. You have some people who love it. You have a lot of people who say, absolutely not. And he, doesn't play the second weekend. But yeah, I do think it has become our Super Bowl in a way. But like you said, there's definitely the history to respect. And you have someone like Jack White who gets announced to do a last minute set and delivers this like no frills, like just awesome rocking set that I think, probably our listeners were super into who watched. And
I think sorry, go ahead.
I think that's it. I had one other thought that I already forgot. Maybe it'll come back to me.
I think what the pop stands of Twitter forget is that a great live performance is subjective.
True. And
so like the point I wanted to arrive at before I digressed basically was like, when you're spending all day in the desert, well, when I'm spending all day in the desert, I don't want to feel like I'm witnessing a thing being filmed for television. Like when you go to the Super Bowl, if you're like, oh, Bad Bunny's playing the Super Bowl and I'm going this year, which again, I don't know how you attend the Super Bowl. At least you can attend Coachella by buying tickets. And if you miss out on the quick sellout, they're easy to get on StubHub.
Well, are they easy to get on StubHub? Because this year people had a lot of problems getting them on StubHub. Because this year was the first year to have a true sellout. Yes. And that was actually a big narrative this year, was how ticket prices skyrocketed and never came down. And it was the first year in a few years that happened.
Fair enough. But I do know, the first year, so my wife went without me 2 years ago and she got her tickets on StubHub. So all I'm saying is like, I don't know how you get into the Super Bowl, but you can get into Coachella.
You can get into Coachella. And I know
if you're going to the Super Bowl and Bad Bunny's playing and you're a Bad Bunny fan, you're like, that's amazing. But you're watching something that's just really being filmed for people at home. And it's like when you go see like the Saturday Night Live taping, like, which I've also done. And I can tell you from experience, it looks like you're watching something being filmed for the people at home. It's not really like for the live audience, even though you're there and part of it. So like, and that's when, when you looked at like Green Day's audience at the Super Bowl, and Dave and I talked about this earlier this year, where I'm like, it looks like these people were possibly paid to be there and looking like they're having fun. Like it's not like a real Green Day show.
Coachella kind of straddles the line between something that is put on to be filmed and watched by millions of people on YouTube, and also obviously very much something that is made for people to attend in person. But
it straddles the line, and all I'm saying in my little tweet, which was really just not supposed to blow up on pop Twitter, I'm just saying I think that I find it, if you're there in the desert, I don't want to see something that's not for us. Like to me, the best part of a live music experience, especially one happening in the middle of the desert when you're on no sleep, probably drugs, eating like garbage food all day, like probably stocking up on Red Bulls just to stay awake or whatever, like give me this experience that's this feed, like this big give and take between the audience and the artist. Like
totally, yeah.
I mean, there's so many ways to have a spectacle. There are so many ways to have a great performance. And to your point about Jack, I didn't watch Jack White, but I've seen him before. Always great live. Like Jack doesn't do that stuff, but you lose your mind at a Jack White show.
Exactly.
Like it's not mediocre. It's not half-assed. I'm referencing tweets that replied to mine. Like, and 9 Inch Nails, to go back to my number one set, like is a perfect example of they had a spectacle. They had dancers. It was a visual experience for sure. And Trent Reznor knows how to feed off the energy of the crowd, give it right back, really be like, locked in with the people who are in front of him right then and there. And I felt like I loved Lady Gaga last year, but I felt like my one criticism was it seemed like it was really geared towards the cameras. Sabrina Carpenter this year, I thought was 100% geared towards the cameras. It looked like a series of music videos.
Right.
I like her songs. I did not think I'd want to see that if I was in the desert. And then we're digressing here. Again, we're just, tangents, all that stuff. So much to talk about. But let's just jump into Bieber, which my tweet was not about. And it was posted before Bieber. But he, I think, tried to be Frank Ocean.
Yes,
I think he
absolutely.
was like, I want to alienate people the way Frank Ocean did. Which honestly, one of my criticisms of his set is it seemed disingenuous. I think Frank Ocean is an actual elusive outsider, and Bieber is a born and bred like fame star, like perfect for the spotlight. He has the aura. He's that guy. And he can't be that. He can't be the weirdo that Frank Ocean is. It's not in his nature. And I think he really wants to. And so it just comes off as like trying too hard. In my opinion, felt the same when he played Grammys in his underwear with like a laptop.
I was just going to bring up the Grammys and say that should have, given people kind of a preview, given people that should have told people what to expect from Coachella. If people were expecting something different at Coachella, they were, they should have looked to that Grammy performance.
Totally. And he's fresh off releasing Swag and Swag 2, which were like these trying to be indie records. Dijon and McGee are on them. They both joined him at Coachella. Like he's trying to embrace like that kind of indie. And that's cool. Like he's been around for forever, and he wants to do something like a little more, I guess, art forward and less like not worrying if it gets as popular. That's cool. I thought the YouTube thing he did where he scrolled through old videos of himself and sung along to them was simultaneously like hilarious and badass and like a fun way of poking fun at the expectations of what you would do. But again, if I was in the desert all day and I was like, all right, so it's literally after midnight and you've been potentially seeing music since noon if you're like a trooper, and then Bieber's just singing along to videos of himself, like I might get pissed off. I'm like, you're doing karaoke and like I'm trying to like, cap off my night with some cool live music, and I'm not getting that. Did his voice sound great? Yes. But I feel two ways about it. I think it was kind of cool, but I also thought like I would probably be pissed off if I was there. And it was easy for me to think it was funny because I'm not emotionally invested in what he was going to do. Like if I went to see 9 Inch Nails and Trent Reznor did that, I might be pissed off.
Yes.
So yeah, there's that. And it's interesting because like Bieber pulled the exact opposite of Sabrina Carpenter, but in a way, I think he was just as geared towards the live stream. I mean, he was literally conversing with people in the live chat, like on YouTube, I think he was being like, he was trying to be anti, but I think he was just as focused on the live stream element and just as unfocused on really connecting with the crowd in front of him. I think the headliner that did the best job of connecting with the crowd in front of them was Karol G. Anyway, those are my thoughts. That's my rant about my viral pop stan tweet.
Karol G got consistently the best reviews, the best reception. I saw the most positive things about her set from just like a broad group of people, whereas both Sabrina and Bieber were extremely divisive. There were some people who loved both. There were some people who absolutely hated each. So, but Karol G seemed to be pretty universally beloved.
I thought she was the perfect middle ground between the live stream audience and the audience in front of her, because like the camera would zoom out and you would see this massive stage that she had with the two screens on the side, and the screens show the close-ups of like her and her dancers' faces, which are for the camera, obviously. But if you're so far back that like you can't really see what's going on anyway, you need to use the screens. Just the entire thing was this audio visual sensory overload, which again, you're on drugs, it's midnight, that's what you want. Versus like Sabrina Carpenter, you're like, oh, I'm watching like a for television Broadway special, and if I'm not looking at the screen, then that's basically like, why am I even here? And I just felt like Karol G had the combination of like, you were still giving the people who were there an excuse to dance, to go crazy, to like let themselves kind of loose, like let go a little bit, like it was transportive. And it was filled with just like, you know, all these amazing, like the dancers and the musicians and the art and all this stuff like really had such a purpose, like, you know, tied to her culture. And like, it just, you know, that was the other thing I think Beyonce had too, was like all these little Easter eggs that had
yes,
like
definitely.
meaning to them, which is like a little bit different than what we got from Bieber and Sabrina Carpenter. And, you know, I mean, not everybody, like obviously like Karol G is introducing a culture to a predominantly English speaking audience, whereas
and
like
Sabrina Carpenter is dissing one.
Right. Yeah. Which I mean, that was, yeah. But, you know, like, it's not like everybody has to like have something like that. But it still is, I think it's meaningful when you're like, oh, like all the dancers, all the choreo, all the props, all these things are like tying into like the meaning of my art, versus like I'm using these things to distract from, if I was just singing with some backing musicians, you might find it boring.
I'm going to give my quick headliner recaps. I watched a lot of Sabrina because I had a chance on Saturday morning, and it was entertaining on TV. I don't know if she was really singing for a lot of it, but, you know, she put a lot of work into that show, and it was an entertaining television appearance. I actually only saw a few minutes of Bieber. I wanted to try to rewind and see it and watch videos before this, but I didn't get a chance. So I saw some of the playing with YouTube and stuff. I can't say much. And Karol G was just last night while we were sleeping. I haven't had a chance to watch it yet, but I did rewind, watched a few minutes here and there. I'm not familiar with Karol G's music, really. I liked what I saw. That's it. Not much more than that.
To get to my number two in a way that segues.
Remind us what your number one was for those just tuning
9 Inch
in.
Noize.
Right.
Yeah. 9 Inch Noize is my favorite set. And number two, as a way that actually does segue out of this, is to go back to that concept of like really feeding off of the audience's energy. And like, you know, yes, spectacle is important, but like that chemistry, that really like give and take between the artist on stage and the crowd, this thing you can only experience if you're there in the middle of the desert on no sleep, you know, Drain. They played the indoor, I forget the name of it, but they played the indoor tent where they put a lot of the...
Is it the Sonora?
Sonora, yeah, the Sonora tent. It's totally indoors. It's dark, and they put most of the punk bands in there.
It looked like a real venue on the stream.
Yeah, it's basically a music venue. But I was bummed when I found out Drain was playing there, because I thought Drain would be amazing on a big outdoor stage in the middle of the day. I mean, they are such a good band to play a big festival like that. You know, if you're walking by and you see Drain, you're like, whoa, what is this? And you stop and look. If it's in the indoor tent, I mean, you're just going to, if you don't know who they are, you're not going to see them. I thought that was really a bummer, because I thought Coachella would be a really great place for Drain to make some fans who never would have thought to see Drain. But somehow, and one of my favorite sets last year was Speed in that same indoor tent. And, you know, like Speed, the Australian hardcore band, and a great hardcore set in that tent can be just as good as a massive spectacle on the main stage. But still, it just feels more intimate, smaller, and sometimes, like I thought it was cool that Turnstile played the outdoor theater, which is the second biggest stage, and they had a massive crowd, and people definitely cared about their music, and they did not come off like a rock band in an environment that was wrong for them.
No, Turnstile was very much at home at Coachella, I think.
Yeah, it was amazing to see. It was awesome. This is the reason I got sidetracked in the first place was the Geese comment. I was thinking how Turnstile had a great crowd and Geese had a great crowd, and it really does seem like a lot of people there are hungry for these rock bands, these like sort of like current generation rock bands.
Geese had a great crowd that included Sabrina Carpenter and Jack White watching side stage.
Yeah, totally. No, I mean they're like, they're the chosen ones, obviously, for so many people. But so Drain were in this little indoor stage, and they found a way to make it look like a crazy Coachella experience. They had all the props with them, which I'm imagine they had. Dave, you saw them. Did they had all that same stuff on the tour? The palm trees.
I saw them on this same tour a week or two ago. 100%. Every single
exactly
detail.
The same.
Every single detail was the same as Irving Plaza and every other date on the tour. Keep going.
Right. So it was basically just another stop on Drain's tour, but still, they're such a California band. So they brought this taste of the outdoor California inside. They went nuts, Sammy crowd surfing on an actual surfboard, like the guy in the shark costume. It's like all the stuff that was associated with Drain, but just now bigger. And they had the entire place looking like a mosh pit, which at Coachella is not easy to do because, again, you're like sometimes you're playing for people. I remember watching some live streams of some hardcore bands a few years ago, and you kind of see that some of the crowd is confused about what you're supposed to do. So there's no guarantee that a Drain set at Coachella is going to look like a Drain set at Irving Plaza, I think. But they made it just like absolutely nuts. I was just grinning the entire time. And I was like, see, now this is actually the best possible thing you could get at Coachella in a way. Like if Drain were big enough to be a headliner and they brought that exact show to the main stage at 9 p.m. and that's what everybody's like, oh, it's Drain Day. It's like Drain and Sabrina Carpenter co-headlining. I think that, I don't see why not. So that was the energy that I'm always looking for at these kind of events.
Drain is not on my top 5 only because I saw the exact show just weeks ago. So Drain were reliably great. Seen them a lot of times. I was saying their show at Irving a couple weeks ago was the best I've seen them yet. And it was because of all the elements you saw play out on Coachella. So for me, it was like, here's a great video version. And if you weren't, for people that couldn't make this past tour, you got to see it and almost have the same experience, really. So I agree, it was great and fun. And Sammy gets the award for most stage banter on the stream. It feels sometimes like bands know they're streaming, so they barely say 3 words. Or maybe just because of the way you only have 40 minutes for your set at a festival, whatever it is, sometimes it feels like there's so little stage banter at Coachella. Drain have a lot of stage banter at their show, and they didn't hold back at all on most of that, a lot of that stage banter is just instructing the crowd, telling them what to do next. We're going to do a wall of death. I need everybody up. I need everyone on stage.
Probably the only wall of death at Coachella 2026.
Yes, and
right, yeah,
no, for sure, possibly ever. But yeah, definitely need to fact check that. But they gave the
possible Knock Loose did one.
It's true. Right, almost definitely. Really good chance Knock Loose did it. Actually, we saw Knock Loose do a wall of death at shows right around that same time. And yeah, Drain, just like they would at any other show or festival they were playing, they shouted out the other bands in the scene. They shouted out Ceremony. They called Turnstile the best band in going. They paid
the greatest band in the fucking world, right. I think was the...
They paid tribute to Bo Luders of Harm's Way and Hardlore, who recently passed, as did Turnstile. They shouted out Fleshwater, Ceremony... Oh, and Glitterer, which is Ned from Title Fight, who I did not see, was on late stream. Was that last night? And
yeah, I watched a little of it. It's tight.
He didn't shout out Suicidal Tendencies, though, which was a little weird to me because I felt like if there was one band to Drain owe the most to on that lineup at Coachella, it's crazy they were even on the lineup, both on the lineup the same year, but Suicidal Tendencies. So yeah, it was fun.
Well, on that note, Turnstile is my number 3.
Okay.
It was just, I don't want to say too much about Turnstile. I've already done that too much, but it was as great as I expected, and it was so cool to see them with such a massive crowd. And obviously, yeah, the tribute to Bo, the intro from Brendan's dad, all really touching given
I
recent
loved
events.
that intro. That was so perfect.
No, sorry, Turnstile's my number 4. I'm skipping ahead. But Dave, you throw one out.
Okay.
I've been talking too much.
Let's see. All right. So here's a band that I did not say it was weird Drain didn't shout out, and that is Black Flag. I guess it's a little weird Drain didn't shout them out, and it's a little weird that I am listing them right now and you're both completely in shock, but
I'm surprised. I'm not going to lie.
I will also not lie that I'm surprised.
I put on Black Flag to laugh at them. Basically, I'm like, you got to see this. All right. So for those that don't know, about 6 months ago, Greg Ginn, founder of Black Flag, announced a completely new lineup for the band, which is basically 3 kids. And how old is Greg? In his 70s?
70-something.
He's 70-something. He's up there with 3 teenagers, essentially, in his band now, early 20s.
Yeah, late teens, all people who could be his grandchildren, late teens, early 20s.
I've seen them referred to as the Gen Z Black Flag, which seems pretty accurate.
When he announced this new lineup of Black Flag, it was widely mocked.
Including by those of us here.
But you know what? So of course, I had not seen video of it since then. He's been touring it. And there's a lot of reasons to be mad or make fun of this and just wonder why Black Flag is even still going. But I turned it on, hoping to see it's on the stream. I'm not going to miss it. I couldn't resist. I turned on Black Flag, ready to laugh. And I was like, hey, wait, this is good. And I watched the entire set and enjoyed it. And I thought, and so the front woman is a female and she's great. They put on a great show. And is Black Flag a cover band? Are they more cover band than they were before? Andrew, thoughts?
Yes, more cover band than they were before. I think when they came back and had Ron Reyes, even though What The is a bad record, I was like, okay, at least you have the singer that was on a legendary Black Flag EP and a deep cut at that, to have Ron, because Rollins will never do it. And I mean, I guess, Keith Morris has his own better version of Black Flag. But so I thought that was cool. And then ever since Ron left, I had no interest. But this is a new level of, I think, embarrassing. I'm glad you liked it.
Would you be mad if they were just a Black Flag tribute band? If they were called the Black Flag tribute band?
They should call it School of Black Flag.
School of Black Flag was an entertaining show. That's all I got to say.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fair.
Playing Black Flag classics. They mixed it up. It was, from like 4 or 5 different albums, the set list, and they were good. I don't know what else to say. They were a great Black Flag tribute band where one of the members is the actual long-standing original member of Black Flag.
I didn't watch it. I did want to. I was curious. I didn't get around to it, but I'm happy you liked it.
Yeah, your review is making me want to seek out some video. I remain slightly incredulous. Yeah.
I would be amazed if you had a single negative thought about the front person of the current version of Black Flag when you actually watch it.
I mean, I get what you're saying, you having not seen it. Even if these people are talented, I still just feel weird about it all. I think if you are going to be the only original member of your band and it's going to seem at all respectful to what fans want, I think that the people in the band should be people that are also meaningful to those fans. Like when we see all the time when a legendary hardcore band's vocalist passes away and they'll do a show where like 7 singers from the scene fill in for different songs and nobody complains because these are all experts at their craft who are also massive fans of the artist, and it just feels right. But for these 3 completely unknown like kids to be in this band that broke up when they were -40 or something, I don't know.
Apparently Greg found her because she was singing along at shows. He recruited her.
Okay,
yeah,
I mean,
I read an interview.
Yeah, It's like that movie Rockstar, right? Which was
Right.
based on what was it based on Journey or Judas Priest or one of the bands that found their singer from like a tribute band? You know what I'm talking about?
Well, that actually happened with Journey. Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah.
they made a movie loosely based on it.
Oh, yeah,
Right?
yeah,
Did you ever see that movie Rockstar?
I remember it. Right. But no, I didn't. I don't
It's like
think I ever
loosely
watched
based on the concept of joining the band that you were in a tribute band to, and then the up, the down, and then it ends with him having like his acoustic solo career, and he's like playing coffee shops.
Right.
Fine.
Journey's not the only example of that in real life. I can't think of the others at the moment, but
Right. What is that? Did that happen to Judas Priest, or am I making that up? Or Iron Maiden, or I feel like it was a
Iron
metal
Maiden
band
is
that-
also what came to my mind just now. But
Mhm.
yeah, it might have been either one of those. Same
Yeah,
thoughts.
I feel like yeah. Anyway,
I mean, would it have been better if it was holograms?
No,
no.
I'm anti-hologram. I don't want that.
Yeah, no, I could
I
have
mean,
worded that
also like I don't know. I don't want to say anything else about
better.
Black
Okay.
Flag.
What else is on your list?
So I said Turnstile was number 4 for me.
Mine's not ranked. And I also have more than
Okay.
5, but keep going.
I have more than 5 too, but I did rank the top 4, and then I have like 3 tied for 5th.
Okay.
But 3rd is Clips, specifically Clips with Travis Barker on drums. Holy shit. That was like a genuine surprise. Coachella is all about the surprises. And that I audibly like turned to my wife and I was like, is that Travis Barker? Like, so cool. Cause obviously he drums with a lot of hip hop acts, and, Clips are of course pretty rock friendly as far as rap groups go. Like they played Deftones Festival this year. They're on a lot of festivals that are not hip hop centric, and they always do really well. And we've talked so much on this show about how much we love Let God Sort 'Em Out, Clips' reunion album from last year. One of the best albums of last year, probably was easily a runner, a contender for topping the BrooklynVegan list. But I believe it was topped by Def Heaven, right? That's what we did.
Yes.
But Clips was a contender for sure. We all love that record, and seeing them get up there, and they played some oldies, but it just was all about the new stuff. Just felt like one amazing song after the next. Crowd was feeding off of them, and also like just to be a boomer again. Like, I think it's cool to see a rap group play without any backing tracks, like vocal backing tracks. They had them for hooks, but like it would be Pusha T rapping his own verse with no one behind him. And if there was anyone behind him, it was his DJ and it was Malice as hype man. Then when Malice rapped, it was Pusha T and the DJ as hype man. And when you got the double up or triple up vocal stuff, it was because of actually 2 or 3 people doing it on stage in front of you. That matters to me. I'm sorry if you go ahead and call me a boomer. So I love that. And I loved having the live drums from Travis Barker, who is obviously incredible to watch in any context. He elevates every single act he drums with. It's just different when he's on drums.
I
So
agree.
that was huge.
Yeah.
I thought.
He didn't drum for their whole set. And the part of his set where he did drum was much better. I agree.
Mm-hmm.
It was great.
Great though. It was all great.
It was all
But
great.
yeah, it was.
But
Yeah.
a clip set, I would say, for me at least, is a little predictable at this point. You know what you're going to get. It's like that David Byrne feeling I had where I went into it expecting something consistently exactly what it was. And it was that. And the element of live drums, which just happened to be Travis Barker, really, I feel like took it to a level that I was not expecting. Made it really great.
100%.
Yeah.
You saw Clips though touring the new record, right?
I didn't actually make it to the shows since the new record came out. I meant to. I tried, but I did go see them like less than a year or so before the new album came out. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I have actually never seen Clips, and seeing them on the stream gave me so much FOMO. I was like kicking myself for not going to the tour. It's one of those shows that like you want to go to, it rolls around and you didn't go, and you're like, why did I not go? So much FOMO. I'm such an idiot.
Well, sometimes the stream gives me FOMO in like anticipated FOMO. We haven't actually had a chance to see the XX again, but watching the XX's set on the stream was a great advertisement for the XX to me, because I definitely, when they finally announce more dates, which I assume they will at some point, I definitely want to go. The XX's set was on the top for me. I wasn't sure what to expect. But when I started hearing them play those songs, it brought me right back, that special feeling. And it was clicking. Those songs used to mean so much to me and just give me these feelings, and it was all coming back in such a good way. So they just felt, I don't know, are they all good friends still? It's a little unclear from the whole thing, but they seemed happy to be playing again together, and it worked. What else you got?
So tied for 5 on my list would be Wednesday, Joyce Manor, and Geese. Probably a predictable list if you know my music taste, but and also, you know, driven by I made a point to stream the acts I knew I wanted to watch. So like, I love that yours is like all these surprises. I didn't have that many surprises, I guess. But part of that could be because I really prioritized watching certain sets. I'm trying to think before I get there, like if I saw anything that I would never have like really kind of chosen and was exciting to me. Not really. But anyway, I thought Wednesday, who also played that same indoor tent with the punk bands, was just amazing. And though I also really, really wished Wednesday were outside, I mean, I think they're like some semi-country vibe to me is just perfect for like the sunny afternoon. That's where I want to see them. I think they are like a prime midday festival band.
But they did a lot of streaming too.
They did a lot. That's where I was going. And they fit the punk vibe. They really punked it up compared to the record at the show. And I know you saw them literally at an emo festival, so not the first time. I thought they were just amazing. And then Joyce Manor, again, to go back to that rock point, like Joyce Manor played, I forget which tent, but it's one of the mid-sized tents. It's where I saw Weezer last year. They were a last-minute addition. They were like last year's Jack White. And they played at 4 p.m., which, you know, Weezer would have played later if they were announced from the start. Kind of same thing with Jack White. Like he plays earlier because he's a last-minute addition. And so Weezer filled this tent out, and it was a little bit of overflow, but it wasn't like much, you know, maybe it's because they were added last minute. Maybe it's because it was early, but it was like, you know, a smaller crowd for Weezer compared to when they headlined Boston Calling or something, but decent. Joyce Manor played same tent, had like the same size crowd. And I think that comparison also has levels to it because Weezer is a massive influence on Joyce Manor, and Joyce Manor, Barry, the singer, has since collaborated with Weezer and all. So there's definitely some torch passing going on between those bands. They just they seemed on stage, like Barry made a comment that made it seem like he wasn't sure what to expect and that this was beyond his expectations. They really drew a crowd. They played a lot of the new record, which, as I said on our recent My Favorite Albums of the Year so far episode, I think is really good and one of their best. And I just thought that, like, no complaints from the crowd or me at home about so much new material. They did not need to rely on the classics, which we did get plenty of. And it was just awesome. And then Geese, same thing. Like, here's this new generation rock band who are just doing it. They are really going against the you just can't make the argument anymore that like the kids don't like rock or the festivals don't like Geese are for the youth, and they're doing it, and they're doing a great job. And I really appreciated how jammy they got, and I just think that I become a bigger Geese fan every day. Since we've last spoke, I'm a bigger Geese fan even than when we last talked about Geese on the show. And they just did everything I wanted them to do. I didn't go with both of you. You saw them in Brooklyn. Yeah, I mean, I'm in my FOMO era because, again, new dad. But yeah, I just thought they were amazing. And they just totally delivered on the promise of like, hey, the new generation is here and we want to rock and we're doing it. But that's not to say, I just want to be clear too. Like, I don't want to come off too raucous. I think it's really cool that Coachella is multi-genre. Some of my favorite experiences there last year were random like DJs. I love the pop stuff, you know, so great. But I'm always going to think it's cool when rock music gets its say, you know, its place. And it just feels like it's in a really good place right now, a really exciting place with just, you know, Turnstile and Geese, and they weren't on Coachella, but Fontaine's DC, like, just feels like there's a lot of bands that are repping it for the new generation. And seeing 2 of those bands at Coachella with big crowds, excited young people, really having these emotional reactions to the band that you could see when they would film the audience for both Turnstile and Geese. I was like, yeah, this is cool. Like, you guys are having your experience. I'm not, trying to, again, a boomer over here, but it's like, this is what it was like when we were younger and we had our bands that now are the legacy acts. Like Turnstile and Geese are the future legacy acts, and rock is in good hands, and I'm happy.
My runner-up list was also filled with these rock acts, and which all could have been my favorite sets, but anything that was just kind of reliably great and not a surprise to me and didn't suck me in unexpected ways didn't make my top 5. So also Wednesday, amazing. I kind of grouped 9 Inch Noize in with this. As much as I left the first 9 Inch Nails Boys Noize show thinking it was the best show of the year, I then saw that show again. So by the time, with slight differences, this Coachella stream, they're kind of in that Wednesday, Geese, Turnstile, Drain category, Clips. I also have Wet Leg in this category. I thought their set was reliably great as well. I went in with a little skepticism. My love of Wet Leg has gone a little down after this new album, but watching the set was like, no, this is, reminds me they are a really great band. Fleshwater as well felt like a great set. I haven't seen Fleshwater in a minute, so it felt good to see them on this. They translate really well to the stream, I think, too.
I saw a second of them and I agree with that.
Yeah, unfortunately, I only saw a second of Joyce Manor. Otherwise, I probably agree with you. I've bummed I didn't see more of it. I did rewind and watch some of Die Spitz, who also seemed a lot of fun. And unfortunately, I brought up Suicidal Tendencies. This is a classic band. So Black Flag and Suicidal Tendencies both fit into this. If you don't know the history, why did Coachella book these classic punk bands? But the reason is Golden Voice, who puts on Coachella, they might be part of the larger AEG now, but they, at the 30, 40 years ago, Golden Voice was booking these punk bands. They're known for that. And so they had Circle Jerks last year. They give a nod to their history by putting Black Flag, even the current version of Black Flag, and Suicidal Tendencies on there, which, those bands fit right in with. By the way, February was also in there. I only watched the one. I missed their stream, but I saw the one song on YouTube, which I thought looked good. They had a decent crowd early. And so you had a lot of these punk screaming bands, and Suicidal Tendencies didn't. It's a band that means a lot to me if I didn't just say that. And that one didn't really translate to the stream for me. I thought I watched some of that and it was like, I don't know. But I usually love Suicidal Tendencies live. So that just, for what it's worth, on the stream. Anyway.
And they played with Thundercat, former bassist of Suicidal Tendencies, now famous person Thundercat.
Who also came out with Pink Pantheress during her set, which ended up being on my top. Also, speaking of the Pink Panther set, Slater was kind of a runner-up / best. I didn't get to see her whole set, so otherwise that might be on my best list. But as far as like top sets with bangers, it was, from what I saw, Pink Pantheress and Slater, both awesome. And now, okay, one set that you will not be surprised made my top, and one which is another hot take. And so first was Iggy Pop. I actually saw Iggy Pop's full set at CBGB's Fest. He played right after Jack White at CBGB's Fest, so I had seen both of them just months ago in person. They were both amazing. By the way, I didn't watch any of Jack White on Coachella. I just didn't get a chance, and I had just seen him live. So I know exactly what it was going to be. It probably would have been in my reliably great runner-ups. Iggy Pop, though, despite just seeing him, sucked me right back in, and just my mind blown at how well he does it still at 78. And I was transfixed with Iggy's set.
I would say Iggy Pop is like my 9th runner-up. I also watched most of his set, and I knew exactly what to expect, and was also, like you said, nobody performs like Iggy Pop. He's 70-something years old, still doesn't own any t-shirts. And Nick Zinner on guitar with him is a literal dream come true, in my opinion. Just awesome. And all like the instruments too, like the horn section, like it's like he elevated these songs. Like it was so cool.
I didn't get a chance to watch much of Interpol, but Interpol's current bassist, Brad Trucks, is also in Iggy Pop's band. So he played 2 sets at the fest. And my next surprise main pick, which, turned it on expecting to see what's up, Moby, another one of my favorite sets. I know he's a little bit of a controversial figure in 2026. huge crowd, first of all. Played a set full of his techno classics, which I loved before, in real time, before he was ever a guy that was like kind of a pop star on MTV. And then for his, let me pull up his name. Who was it? He brought out Jacob Lusk, who he called possibly the greatest singer in the world or something, to play to do vocals on like the big vocal hits. Amazing. Just watching Moby do these songs over this, I don't know if it was technically a dance tent or what it was, but hearing all like banger after, keep using the word banger after banger, these techno songs over this giant crowd. Moby was, maybe it was a nostalgia thing, but another one of my top sets.
Well, here's where I admit that I didn't actually get a chance to watch any full sets. I did catch bits and pieces here and there, and I followed what was going on pretty closely, as I always do, but I don't actually have any favorites to list, but I co-sign all of Andrew and Dave's, except I'm still suspicious about Black Flag.
All right. I do have a few more things I want to say about certain sets, though, just run through a little bit. We pretty much said like runner-ups, but I think another cool thing about the streams is there's no pressure to watch a lot of sets, and we hear about a lot of artists. We see them get announced on the poster. We're like, even us who live it every single day when fest posters come out, when the lineups come out, we're like, who are some of these bands? So then it's just like a click away on the live stream to check out some of that stuff and to see. I was impressed. I watched bits and pieces of a lot of the DJs and the production, which makes sense. I know the production of EDM has gotten this way because they want to give you something to look at. And even if the DJ is just secretly hitting play, at least they look like this godly figure on this giant throne thing.
Yeah, I think Coachella is also known for having one of the best, production of any festival in the US.
So it's fun to watch each of those. I did mean to say, were you thinking, Andrew, by any chance, those dancers on Nine Inch Noize reminded me of Kanye tour from many years ago. He had very similar body stocking. They were like in flesh-colored body stocking, like reaching up at Trent and grabbing him down. I mean, it also reminds you of like famous paintings in museums from hundreds of years ago where like the devils or angels are coming out from the ground and pulling person down, and it had that. I'm too dumb to know exactly the references there, but
I didn't make the bodysuit connection, although I totally agree now that you say it, but I did sort of think Kanye, just because I think of Kanye circa 2013 or so as like really nailing like the kind of stage spectacle that also doubles as like high art. And then so I feel like that's what Trent went for. I mean, I'm saying Nine Inch Noize. We give credit to everybody. I feel like that's what Nine Inch Noize went for.
So I definitely did jumping
make that
around
connection.
For instance, I got to see some of Central C and Fake Mink, and I agree. Exactly.
I saw a couple of Central C songs. He was really good.
Amanda, you and I saw CMAT together when she was at Webster Hall last in New York City. I didn't get to see her whole set here. I did watch some of it. It was fun to relive some of that. Watched a bit of Young Thug, some of Addison Rae. Fatboy Slim, kind of not really in the Moby category. I was kind of in the Moby category, yeah.
Well, I mean, both of them played, I think Moby played the first Coachella and Fatboy Slim played, I think, the second.
I didn't get a chance. I only saw a few minutes of Fatboy Slim, but I felt like maybe I'll rewind that and just keep it on in the background after we record, because that seemed really fun. I hope not.
I think all the streams are down.
Oh, damn. All right.
I think they were up until noon today or something like that. I'm bummed because I fell asleep during FKA Twigs and kind of woke up, fell asleep. But every time I'd wake up for like 30 seconds, I'd be like, this looks epic. And I'd fall back asleep. So I didn't get to see her set, but it looked epic. And she had canceled last year when I went, and I was so bummed. So I bet she might have made my list, but I don't know because I really only saw like little glimpses.
I was fast forwarding through rewinding through FKA Twigs this morning too, and a drop before I went to bed. I agree. And the first thing that struck me is I saw a lot of pictures and short videos from the MSG show, and it all looked very familiar. I was like, there's that. And again, I wish I could have watched her whole set. I only watched one Ethel Cain song, the one that they have on YouTube. There's highlights on YouTube. They So I don't know. Of course, they're pulling the best song or the one that they think is going to be the most popular video. But for Ethel Cain, it definitely gave me FOMO. I wish I watched that whole set. Jane Remover, I watched a bunch of that. Amanda, you were talking about when the Coachella lineup was announced. I think, was it Coachella? How there's kind of this mini hyper pop festival.
I was actually talking about that with Lollapalooza, but,
Oh, right.
but
Well,
you could probably say it of Coachella too.
and I watched a bunch of OK Lou. I watched a bunch of Jane Remover, who brought out Underscores. And I forget who else. One thing that Jane Remover really reminded me of was like a classic Crystal Castle show. Jane Remover is like jumping up on stage, the lot of strobe light, and I don't even know. I don't want to accuse Jane Remover of lip syncing, but it's definitely like they're singing to a backing track of some sort with lots of auto tune, and the crowd is just all jumping up and down to like tons of strobe light, and yeah, just brought me back to Crystal
Well, they
Castle.
should go on tour with Major Lazer.
Major Lasers, that was insane. All right, now please explain to us how Major Lazer is so popular in 2026.
I'm as confused. I was saying to my wife when we were watching, I was like, this should be a relic of 2007. I don't understand. But I guess it's just because like the energy is so primal that like any human can relate to it.
Right, but I think it's more than that. I think they have a few hits that have endured the test of time and that continue to be popular now.
But half their set was just mashups anyway. Like it was mainly just really familiar songs by other people.
And then, of course, Diplo, being a member of Major Lazer, brought out surprise guest MIA, and they did Paper Planes.
Yeah.
Which was interesting for so many reasons. But yeah, they might have, in like most shockingly big crowd by artists that we've known about for nearly 20 years, who is also just kind of a DJ type thing, Major Lazer.
Like I associate Major Lazer with sort of like the peak US festival era. Like when Coachella was cool and Bonnaroo was cool and Lollapalooza like was turning into what it was after it was like an alternative rock touring festival. I feel like Major Lazer would be a staple of all that kind of stuff because their energy just fit the sort of emergence of people running to this like remote location for a crazy weekend. It just seemed perfect for what it was original, like not originally, but like, you know, in the like mid 2000s, I guess, festival culture.
Definitely. I think I saw MIA at the very first Gov Ball. I'm wondering Major Lazer at, I definitely have these kind of pictures of Major Lazer shows from back then. Trying to remember where I saw them. Probably McCarran.
Yeah, I saw Major
Pool.
Lazer at like one of the first Gov Balls.
Yeah, that's what I was kind of thinking too.
I don't remember which.
I was going to say, like, did they do like a pool party or like a Williamsburg waterfront kind of thing?
That's
like,
what I'm also picturing.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Like that era too. Like I didn't see them, but like I saw A-Track at Williamsburg waterfront, and like that to me in my head is like the same kind of thing as seeing Major Lazer at McCarran Pool, if that makes sense.
It does. Yep.
Yeah.
Of course, Major Lazer with a lot more of a sort of party stage show going on, always with the costumes but yeah, completely missed Hot Mulligan. I feel like that might have been in my rock runner-ups, but that one just...
They went on at the same time as Sabrina Carpenter. Interesting counter programming.
Oh yeah, and I missed Creepy Nuts. I completely missed Ceremony.
I completely missed Ceremony too. I'm bummed.
My last comment, Cat's Eye, not for me.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's another...
Even though you're a K-pop Demon Hunters fan.
Yeah, so
that's where I'm going with this. That's where I'm going with this.
In theory, that should have been one of the biggest moments of the weekend. And yet, I don't know if it's... I mean, but I feel like I haven't heard that much about it outside of like I haven't heard that much about it in like wider media, and I would expect it to be bigger there. Am I just not paying attention there, or is it not being that reported on?
I can't speak to your algorithm. I'm actually not totally sure. I haven't followed, but just watching from the stream, it did seem like a big set. Most notably though, I did not like Cat's Eye. I don't know. It just felt like lip syncing, dancing, pop I don't like. But when I found out they brought Huntrix from K-pop Demon Hunters to do Golden, I then rewound the stream and found that part. And all right, that was pretty epic, I gotta say.
On that note, Billy Corgan coming out with Somber to somehow make his Coachella debut, which is crazy to think. the Pumpkins have never played Coachella. You know, we're not big Somber fans on this podcast. I'm still not a big Somber fan, but clearly, you know, he has good taste. He's touring with Interpol, as announced today. And he brought up Billy Corgan, and they played 1979, and it was fun. I thought that was a cool thing. Props to Somber. Thanks for tuning in. Dave and I will be back every Friday morning with new episodes of BV Weekly. And in between the episodes, you can always get much more from us at BrooklynVegan.com, on all of our social media, including Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. You can pick up records from us at shop.brooklynvegan.com. And if you like what you hear, tell your friends about us, subscribe to the show, give us a good rating. All that little stuff goes a really long way. It really helps us a lot, and we really appreciate it. So until then, thank you again, and see you next time.